I had to unmute myself. I could hear myself, and you're saying, Emil, how dare you talk and we don't hear you? Oh, stop playing with your soundboard, Emil. Yeah. All right, so welcome to the program. It's Emil Guillermo. It's Emil Amok to you. My takes on all things considerable. It's called the Takeout. My Emil Amok's Takeout. I've been using the Takeout for a long time, well before anyone else has been using it, and I do it in this secret podcast form because I don't put it up on wherever people get their podcast. You have to come to amok.com or watch it live as I do it on Facebook, on fb.com/Emil Guillermo Media, emilguillermo.media, or on YouTube at the Emil Amok channel on YouTube, Emil Amok 1, or on Twitter. Some people watch it on Twitter. I don't know why or how, but there are some Twitter devotees, and they'll say, "Oh, there's Emil popping up. What's he talking about?" Okay, so my cold open was I was talking about papaya because all this morning I was craving it because I went to Costco and there it was. They had papaya, and if there's Hawaii, not the Mexican type, the Hawaiian type, and for a long time they were banned. You couldn't bring them to the mainland because they feared the spirit of aloha or something on the mainland. That's the truth. But so I see them at Costco, and of course, Costco means there is an opportunity to buy this in bulk. So I'm excited, right? I'm happy. It's a great little mental health thing. Excited. So I buy all these. They come in twos, just like Noah's rules, in pairs, and they're in plastic. And I was like, I gave it a day, and I said, I'm going to eat them today. Today's Tuesday. I'm going to eat them today, this morning. And I cut open, because usually you can eat a green papaya, but this one was hard green and had no taste. And it made me yearn for cantaloupe. That's how bad it was. It wasn't bad. It was just not ripe. So me and my 5 dozen Hawaiian papayas, we just have to wait till they ripen. But when they ripen, oh my God, are we gonna have a party? I'm gonna get excited. Hawaii, yeah, for the longest time, when I was working in Hawaii, we used to do editorials about whether the Hawaiian papaya, why not in California? And now it's been some time since I've worked in Hawaii. But now they're in California, and they don't even say that they call them product of the U.S. So you can't say, oh, is it from Hawaii? The labeling doesn't say. Or it's distributed by a California company. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that because, it is Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander month. You got to have some Hawaiian news every now and then. It's not enough that E.M. Tongi is maybe the leading candidate to be the American Idol. E.M. Tongi from Kahuku, it looks like he might go all the way. They had a little how we got here kind of episode on Monday. But the real finals happen next week. All you E.M. Tongi fans, he's huge guy. Nice story, great voice, big star. And if you've lived in Hawaii, E.M. Tongi is kind of like, I don't want to say he's a stereotype, but there are a lot of big guys who play ukulele, who play music, but there's something unique about this guy. He's got a great voice, he's got a great story, and great charm. And even there, as I said that, I said, yeah, there are a lot of guys like that. But no, this guy's special. He makes Katy Perry nuts. She loves him. So That's going to be the AAPI story, or the AANHPI story of the month, I think. All right, so on today's program, I want to talk about Mr.Pham and his metal baseball bat. I wrote about it on the ALDEF blog. If it's not up there yet, it will be at aaldef.org/blog. I mean, I talked about this story briefly yesterday, and because the story was breaking yesterday, just as everything was breaking in Jerry Connolly's district office in Northern Virginia. Allegedly, Mr. Pham went with his baseball bat, metal baseball bat, to the offices, but not before he went to he was like 5 miles away in Northern Virginia, threatening at least two women. One who he bashed in her window, or allegedly, and another they had caught on video with him chasing a woman with a baseball bat. The man in the video is identified as Juan Ka Tran Pham. I call him Mr. Pham out of respect. 49, age 49, Fairfax. I talked about him yesterday, but I really want to talk about him today. I wrote that column, and it's because, this is the coincidence of AANHPI month, Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and Mental Health Awareness Month. How coincidental. It's not just AANHPI mental health. It's like all of our mental health. And I just think the coincidence is important. It's important coincidence. And maybe by the end of the column, whether you need it or want it, I'll have some advice for you on how you can feel better. Because I want to know that when I ask you how you're feeling, I'm not like other people who walk down the street and say, "Hey, how you doing? How you feel?" And then, they don't really care. So you answer like you don't really care because they don't really care. And you say, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay." No, I really care, honestly. Tell me. And like I said, by the end of this segment, I'll tell you a tip or two about how to feel better. But first, let's talk about Mr. Pham. Juan Ka Tran Pham, 49, Fairfax, Virginia. Because he needs it. He needs our thoughts right now. He's a troubled man. And our reminder that not only is this Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month, it's also the National Mental Health Awareness Month. And by now, we should all be very aware of the coincidence. Pham is a guy in the news who's being held without bond. Now, I know that he's in there for some felonies, but he's being held without bond. But he was held without bond before his first court appearance, and then 2 hours ago, he refused to appear before the judge. So they put him on camera, and he held some kind of cloth over him. He's got a number of criminal charges, some felonies in there. He's accused of attacking a congressional district office in Northern Virginia there. That resulted in 2 people injured. Now, I'm not making light of the attack on the Northern Virginia office. It wasn't just a property crime because 2 people were injured. I mean, he did bash the office around, but he did injure 2 people. Fortunately, they weren't seriously hurt. The best thing to say about any of this is that Pham is said to have used a metal baseball bat. Had it been a gun, this would have been far more serious an incident than 2 people with minor injuries treated and released. So thank goodness it wasn't a gun. Thank goodness it wasn't that serious, but it's still serious enough because it was clear when looking into Pham's background that he had some kind of mental illness, which appears never to have been adequately addressed. That's really the big question. Why? Why wasn't it adequately addressed? And then when you understand that, oh, he didn't want to appear, at his arraignment today, you say, well, all right, what was wrong with this guy? Well, maybe got a pang of shame. I don't know. He didn't want to be seen. Thing is, the guy's not normal. He doesn't belong in the criminal justice system. He belongs in the mental health system. And he apparently is having a hard time being a part of that. Now, authorities are still searching for a motivation for what happened at the district office of Representative Jerry Connolly, D. Virginia, even suggesting that this may be linked to a rise in political violence in America. And just from the guy's background, I don't know. But I'm not discounting the rise in political violence. But Pham's case may simply be a matter of an AAPI man in need of mental health care and not being able to get what he needed when he needed it most. Because there were plenty of breadcrumbs that he left to let us know about his mental state. This was broken by a lot of the news reporting yesterday. May 22nd or May 2022, he sued the CIA in federal court in a handwritten complaint. Now, you say handwritten. Some people say, oh, that shows that he wasn't serious. It may show that he didn't have access to a typewriter. But it's being reported like, handwritten complaint. How serious could this be? His allegations were based on his belief that the CIA was wrongfully imprisoning him, he said, in what he called a lower perspective and brutally torturing him with a degenerating disability consistently since 1988 till the present from the fourth dimension, end quote. Wow, that's some imagination. Fourth dimension. I mean, that should give you a clue. This guy's not well, right? Guy's not well. Also, last year, Pham had a run-in with the Fairfax County Police. He attempted to take a firearm from officers who, as a result, sustained minor injuries. But charges were dropped in September when Pham was required to seek treatment, according to the Associated Press. Was he better? Now, before the indictment on Monday at the Congressional District Office, like I said, Pham was about 5 miles away, threatening at least 2 people in a Northern Virginia residential neighborhood. And there was a home camera system that captured a man who looks like Pham with a metal baseball bat. Pham's father, Hi Pham, told the Washington Post that his son has suffered from schizophrenia since his late teens. Another report said, well, this whole thing about suffering from schizophrenia since his late teens, that means they've known about this. But Pham is now 49. He's not a teenager. So what sort of care has he had since his teenage years? And what care has he had since those charges were dropped last year? Reports further said that his father was trying without success to get mental health care for his son, who had been off his meds the last 3 months. Off his meds the last 3 months? Look, sometimes it's the meds that are wrong. I don't know what the case is here. But was he off his meds because he refused to take them? Or was it the expense of care and he wasn't able to get his meds? more than likely, it may have been some kind of language barrier that kept him from getting help or the understanding he needs. Although, the guy's been through the criminal justice system. You'd think he'd know better, or he'd know something, or he'd have the help. But this is often the case when it comes to AAPI getting any kind of help for any healthcare, not just mental health care. Cultural differences, language, too often the obstacle we face. Then again, maybe it's a family barrier. The father was quoted in the Washington Post, said, "Hey, he's been like this since his teenage years. He's now 30 years later. Was there something in the family that kept him from getting the help he needs? Could it be that idea that really prevents a lot of Asian American families from getting the help they need? And that is the stigma of mental health is real. Still, how many cries for help do we need to hear from Pham and his family before they get what they need in our mental health care system? Because from yesterday and today, seeing how he acted as he was arraigned, it's clear Pham needs help. He needs access to the mental health care. I hope he's getting care in where he's at, because he has all the access he needs to the criminal justice system. The guy needs mental health care. He needs someone to guide him and share what can be done to help him. If anything, I don't know. I don't know his condition. I just know that he's locked up now. No bail set. And I just hope he's getting the care he needs. So the coincidence of our month, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and this National Mental Health Awareness Month. I mean, they're only 12 months, so there's a lot of like doubling, tripling, quadrupling up multiple months. It's just painful when you see Pham, you see his mugshot, you see his circumstances. Although maybe it's a good thing, because we need to hear this, because I'm sure there are AAPIs out there who can pick out something in Pham's story and see themselves. I mean, if you're an immigrant or have immigrant parents, our origin stories alone can be indicative of a trauma that few can relate to, except other Asians. I mean, imagine Pham, who I'm guessing Vietnamese. That has always been some journey in American history, how the Vietnamese came to America. The fact that he's in Virginia tells me a little something about his political background, since most of the Vietnamese in Northern Virginia tend to be Republican, tend to be conservative. Maybe he had a thing against Connolly. Maybe that there is something to that. It's unclear. But people have to talk to Pham, and it seems that before they talk to him, they have to assess his mental capacity. So you think about those immigrant stories and our origin stories, and you think about how all that has an impact on all our lives here in America. If you're Asian American, yeah, everything in our lives, from how we're parented to how we deal with the system to how we get what we need to survive in this country. There are some psychological issues that no one really wants to talk about. The feelings of general helplessness at times, maybe inadequacy, maybe self-doubt, lack of self-worth, imposter syndrome, anyone? There may be feelings of anger. Of course, we are all told we can overcome all of that simply by hard work. If you're young, that means getting good grades, getting to a good college, becoming a doctor. You know how that story goes. But what does that have to do with mental health, right? I mean, we don't even think about it as a mental health thing. We just see that we feel bad or have some kind of issue, feel pressure, feel stress. Oh, that's normal, right? I mean, so what does it have to do with mental health? I mean, everything, if you aren't able to handle the pressure, it becomes a mental health issue. But because mental health often comes with that stigma, no one wants to talk about mental health. And it's not good, right? Not with family. We're too busy keeping our head down, working hard, ignoring all this mental health stuff. We survive and we suffer quietly. And that's when we need to talk about this thing called mental health most. I say, talk? Well, we're Asian. We don't talk. But maybe we should. There are mental health professionals available on hotlines. You can call them if you need. I mean, if it really gets distressing, it doesn't have to be the point of, say, when you're going to hurt yourself or take your life or anything like that. There are mental health professionals available, suicide hotlines, all that. But now I discovered something that may be worth doing. I texted the crisis text line at 741-741. 741-741 to find out what it offered. Now, it's crisistextline.org. It's a global nonprofit, UK. I think they're in Canada. They're in the US, parts of the US. They provide free 24/7 counseling by text. By text, that means it's not talk. So if you clam up and don't talk, if you can't express yourself, well, here's text. Well, I don't know if they did Asian languages. They did Spanish. There was a Spanish option. But maybe Asian languages are that's in the works. But it's all text. It's not an AI chat box. At first, I thought it was a chat bot and not a real person. But I'm being trusting here. It could have been a bot, but I doubt it. Now, I thought I'd test it out today. Approaching my writing deadline, I felt some anxiety. Okay, it wasn't serious anxiety, but enough anxiety so that I was feeling, just like maybe immobile to the point. There's so much, you feel so much stress, you don't know what to do. Not that you don't know what to do, but you just feel immobilized. And so I texted, and I got a person who texted back. And the person said, or texted, "It sounds like you're dealing with a lot right now. Tell me more." Very supportive. I asked if she were a real person. And she said, "Yes, I 100% am." I guess, would that be splitting the infinitive? Yes, I am 100%. Okay, I don't need to correct her grammar. That's what she typed. You'll always be connected to a real person when you text in. She texted. So I texted back that I was stressed out by all my deadlines. Now, this is often what you try to make the person feel good. She praised me for my self-awareness. But I texted her how I sometimes think it would be better if I weren't so self-aware. Don't you ever think that sometimes? Like, God, I'm so self-aware. I feel bad. which is good, right? If you're a therapist, but if you're not good, I mean, if you don't know, Freud from fried chicken, he'd say, hey, what is this self-awareness thing? I mean, sometimes, I know that whatever I think I have is minor compared to others. But maybe I think it would be better if I just plowed through life, right? As long as I'm not a danger to anyone, except myself. Because sometimes being self-aware is like you're too privy to things that aren't so obvious. So then that bogs you down instead of all the obvious stuff that's right in front of you. And then the texter asked me the big question. She asked if I was safe. And I said, yeah, I was. I'm only in danger of making grammatical errors. And that's about it. But it's funny because I liked the text. I liked the method because it was slow. Talking about things like right now, I can sometimes, as you know, be prone to blurt and be less thoughtful. Although I think if you spend some time with it, there's some thought. But in text, you have to type out your ills. I mean, you're really carving out your thoughts. You're also slowing down your expectations because I'm not expecting an instant cure when I'm forced to think as I type about what's bothering me. And then as I carve out my feelings, I realize maybe how things aren't as bad as I originally thought. In fact, not bad at all. But I just got it out to someone, a texter. I mean, if you are ashamed about talking to someone in person or even talking to a real person on the other side, text, right? Text is the savior. So my texter provided me some resource links if I wanted to seek in-person help. Not really, but I thanked her for that. And because I mentioned I meditate, she linked to some mindfulness exercises, and I test that meditation has made me less amok over the years. So I told her I found texting to be helpful and said I will tell my friends about it. It's just texting to a trained mental health volunteer, not a bot. At least I believe it's not a bot. Where's the stigma? It should get you past the stigma situation. And I have to admit, it did help me feel better. I hope it helps you. And then I thought of how just a little bit of help at the right time could have made all the difference for Schwan Ka Tran Pham, Mr.Pham. I mean, something to think about. I mean, look, if his father says that he was schizophrenic, I know that whatever ails me is nothing close to that. But we got to take mental health seriously because no matter how minor or how major, pressure, stress, how we handle it, our ability to handle it, it all is under the umbrella of mental health. And if you need help, you got to know that, hey, there is help. And if you're Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, this is our month. It's also National Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you have a hard time talking to people, maybe you want to text a mental health stranger. It's free, 24/7, counseling by text, 741-741. 741-741. It's free. And like I said, I know that for my minor case of, oh, my deadline, I have to make my deadline. Writer's block doesn't count as a, well, it could. It's a psychological thing. But it's helpful. And we have to think about these mental health issues as things and not as things that we can ignore, things that aren't as important, because things can snowball. Sometimes being aware of it, like I said, sometimes you're cursed being aware of it, because when you're aware of it, oh, now you're thinking about it. People say, well, Emil, now you're thinking about all these bad things. Aren't you manifesting them? They're there already. I didn't manifest them, but I'm addressing them. And you address them sometimes just by thinking about them, getting them out. And there's something about text. There's something real about a text. You see the letters. I mean, there are all these little type of techniques, little types of, they're a form of therapy where people write down sometimes things about what makes them anxious or what they fear. And then just the act of writing down these things makes them feel better. And as they feel better, then they say, wow, things aren't as bad. And then what you're supposed to do afterwards, because this is hard work, you're supposed to meditate. You're supposed to say, oh, okay. And sometimes you don't, your meditation doesn't have to be more complicated than just simple breath type of vipassana breath type meditation. You can focus on a mantra, focus on a word. One of my favorites is Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, if you Google Emil Guillermo and Thich Nhat Hanh, you'll read or see what I wrote when he died last year. It was before a big affirmative action hearing, and I said I used as my mantra affirmative action on the in-breath, affirmative on the out-breath action. And that actually, I've taken a number of courses online with Thich Nhat Hanh. And one of the things I like is using the breath, but also using these essentially two-word mantras. So affirmative on the in-breath, action on the out-breath. Space on the in-breath, free on the out-breath. You feel the world closing in, space on the in-breath, free on the out-breath. 2 words. A 2-word mantra from Thich Nhat Hanh. It's helped me. Anyway, I hope some of this has helped, because sometimes, whether you know it or not, a little bit of help, like a text to a mental health volunteer, can be helpful. So I hope you get something out of this. 741-741. Crisis text. The crisis text line, they're at crisistextline.org. Nonprofit and not a bot until proven otherwise. You know, while we're talking about bots, I was reading something interesting, and I've heard from a number of people about the writers' strike, and how one of the points, the bargaining points is the role of AI. I mean, they want to get rid of the writers' rooms, but one of the things is they will have AI come up with the story and then hire a couple of writers, one maybe, after the story's all laid out, and then have that writer do the human touches, the writerly touches, to make it, hey, look, we just We just had one writer instead of 12, instead of 5, instead of 3. We had one and an AI that essentially filled in the outline. Well, if outlines were great literature, I guess, yeah, that could work, but that's not great literature, an outline. And a chatbot can't produce great literature like a human soul, I think. Anyway, that's one of the issues in the writer's strike, and it's kind of disturbing, frankly. So I went to my chat GPT, which I downloaded for kicks a couple months ago, and I put down, write a column like Emil. I'll just read you the title and the first graph. Title, Embracing Unity, the Path Forward for a Divided Nation. Now, I don't know if I would say something that corny, but here's the first graph. In a world that seems increasingly divided along political, social, and cultural lines, it's essential to remind ourselves of the power of unity. Today, I want to discuss the importance of embracing our shared values and finding common ground as we navigate the complexities of our rapidly changing society. Oh man, that's more refined BS than I could come up with. See, I read it to someone who knows my writing, and she said, well, look, there's no funny, there's no humor, there's no short, punchy sentences. It's just the past few years have seen an unprecedented level of polarization where people have grown accustomed to viewing those who disagree with them as enemies rather than fellow citizens with differing perspectives. This us versus them mentality has seeped into our national discourse. Yeah, that's not me. This is why people are saying, and I've seen this, I've seen students say, look, professors will never know what's chat GPT or what's AI and what's real. I think that's a real problem. And wouldn't you know, today, Washington posted a big story on this. And it's sad because here we have the Frankenstein folks, right? The guys who created the Frankenstein monster coming to Congress saying, hey, you know what? We have a problem. We have a problem with AI. I mean, this was a story today in it was in the Washington Post. And it's real. And here's the story. The story is CEO behind ChatGPT, which I am a user, warns Congress AI could cause harm to the world. It was the first congressional testimony from OpenAI CEO Sam Altman, who called for extensive regulation, including a new government agency charged with licensing AI models. See, this is scary. I mean, if you've been just sort of like living your life saying, oh yeah, it's kind of cute. And I thought so, it was cute at first. Chat GPT, I told it to do a love note. It wrote a love note, but it also had a disclaimer saying, please do not use this. This is a sample, which I guess that was the AI having a conscience. But the fact is, this is the OpenAI chief executive, Sam Altman, before Congress. The lead is, Altman delivered a sobering account of ways artificial intelligence could, quote, cause significant harm to the world during his first congressional testimony, expressing a willingness to work with nervous lawmakers to address the risk presented by his company's Chat GPT, and other AI tools. Altman advocated for a number of regulations, including a new government agency charged with creating standards for the field to address mounting concerns that generative AI could distort reality and create unprecedented safety hazards. The CEO tallied risky behaviors presented by technology like ChatGPT, including spreading one-on-one interactive disinformation and emotional manipulation. At one point, he acknowledged AI could be used to target drone strikes. If this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong, Altman said. Yet, in nearly 3 hours of discussion of potentially catastrophic harms, Altman affirmed that his company will continue to release the technology despite the dangers. The hypocrisies of capitalism. He argued that rather than being reckless, OpenAI's iterative deployment of AI models gives institutions time to understand potential threats, a strategic move that puts relatively weak and deeply imperfect technology in the world to understand the associated safety risks. So I don't get it. He has the keys to the cage, but instead of trying to control the monster and keep it from getting out in the world, he opens up the cage and says, yeah, we're letting it out one by one, little by little. So this is Altman's Goodwill Global Tour. He's meeting with policymakers. I think the fact that he's out there says something. It's to ease his conscience so he can say, hey, look, I warned you guys, but you guys are too stupid. You didn't do it. You should have. You didn't. And then they go off. I mean, but how can this guy Altman feel good about saying, hey, this is bad, but don't get in the way of me making my billions of dollars? That's what he's saying. It's kind of sick, really. Think about it. I mean, really. But that's the world we live in. The world we live in. One more thing. I said I was going to talk about Michelle Obama. It's because every time there's something that's pro-Biden, people are, well, you know, they say, well, yeah, Biden's good. And they accept that, but they know deep inside that there needs to be a plan B that doesn't include Biden. And then the Wall Street Journal the other day printed out a column on the op-ed section. If Biden bows out, how about Michelle Obama? I mean, Michelle Obama is sort of like the go-to. They're like, oh, who's available? Who's a woman who can cross over and appeal to everybody? And Michelle Obama might be that person, but I don't know. I mean, I fear that what happened to Hillary Clinton might happen to Michelle Obama, because Michelle Obama right now is beloved. And before, Hillary Clinton was villainized by everybody. Oh, those emails. Oh, you know. And you can talk about all the scandals. Benghazi, Whitewater. Hillary Clinton's gotten a bum rap. But she was like before 2016, she was like no doubt about it, she was going to run and win, and then out of nowhere comes Trump. And then he wins. So I just feel like Michelle Obama, if she's not serious now, I don't think she'll be serious. Because this is the time to strike. This is the time to do it. right? Her kids are all grown. You know, Barack's the former president, still popular. I fear if she waits, she will be Hillarized by the right. And I think that the fact that she didn't challenge Biden, perhaps out of respect, but who knows, I think is a sign that she just doesn't want to be president. And yet, she's the one that people point to and say, yeah, here she is. She can bridge all the gaps. Michelle Obama. I mean, no one's talking Buttigieg, although maybe we should. And oddly enough, no one's talking Kamala Harris, although maybe we should. I mean, I think Kamala Harris has gotten a bum rap. I think she deserves to be considered, but she almost is undergoing a kind of, you know, she's almost being Hillarized right now, where everything she does is being brought down by the right. Is, oh, she's not good enough. Oh, she can't even talk. Really stupid ad hominem, divisive personal attacks that, unfortunately, have seemed to work. Because, according to polls, Trump would trounce Kamala Harris in a general election matchup. The Harvard Caps Harris poll released this year had Trump leading Harris by 10 points, 49 to 39. So, snapshot in time, you say. It could all change, but I don't know. Do we need a plan B that doesn't include Biden? Look, I think Biden is good for now. But the fact that the Wall Street Journal, a paper from the right, is putting this out there, I don't know. Maybe they're to give hope to the right wing. I don't know. To make the left feel, actually, if people talk about Michelle Obama, that would invigorate the left. The fact is, there aren't any real superstars emerging who are young, coming up. You know, you think about people like AOC, possibly, you know, a national figure. I mean, she's made a name for herself as being part of the squad, maybe other squad members. Pramila Jayapal has made a name for herself. I mean, you can see where the bench for the Democrats is pretty thin, but so is the bench for the Republicans. All of a sudden, why is Marjorie Taylor Greene a Republican stalwart? After how the previous term, she was a pariah. So things change just like that in politics. Today or yesterday, I just thought it was interesting. If Biden bows out, how about Michelle Obama? Again, I think clearly she's not interested. She doesn't want to be part, or she doesn't want the job. It's up to us to figure out, all right, if we don't stick with Biden, who? Who then? Harris? Okay. Hey, that's it for today's show. Try to keep these under an hour. Still thinking about Mr.Pham, this baseball bat. I sure hope he's getting the help he needs while being detained. His next hearing date isn't until July. And if he doesn't get bail, like, I don't know. I'm not his lawyer. I imagine he has a court-appointed attorney. I'm just more concerned about his mental health. I mean, he's a double for May. He's Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander during our month and during National Mental Health Awareness Month. I think we all should be aware of Mr.Pham Sad. Sad. Okay. You can check us out Monday through Friday around 2 o'clock. Amok.com is where we put our replays, but we're on YouTube at Emil Amok 1, Twitter at Emil Amok, also on Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media. Sometimes we have little technical difficulties. No, we had a few. Some technical. But basically we're up. And then I put the replays again, amok.com. Hey, look, thank you for joining me. Serious about that chat, not that chat, but the whole mental health texting. Mental health texting could be the answer to the kind of stigma that Asian Americans have, because Asian Americans have no problem as long as they can hide, right? I mean, you can sort of hide when you talk to a crisis hotline, but you're talking to a real person and it's like too real for some people. But the internet, digital, you can hide. So if you text 741-741, the crisis text line, 24/7, a real person, not a bot, just tell them, look, I just listened to Emil Guillermo, and boy, I'm just feeling down. I listened to that guy. Emil, yeah. He told me to text you guys. I feel better already. Now, I think that could help. I mean, even for a little thing, like meeting a deadline, kind of stressed out. They helped me. I mean, basically, they just said meditate. And then as you're texting, it's funny. You spend a little more time with yourself and trying to determine what you're feeling as you describe it to a text. And a funny thing happens. You start feeling better. At least I did. Now maybe I'm the outlier, but I started feeling better. And a little bit better. And that's sort of the goal. And so we end with a little meditation, a little loving kindness meditation. As I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific, live. Till then, mahal kita.